And just like that, it was Valentine's Day. So we're up to season 2, episode 7 of And Just Like That. The title of the episode is February 14th. Now, I'm not quite sure why everything's out of sync. We had a Halloween episode last week, and now this week we got... They really should have thought about their schedule when they were going to actually screen these shows. It would be so nice to watch a Valentine's episode on the week of Valentine's Day, and so forth and so on. But either way, it was good. Now, it's a bit crowded. There's a lot of characters in this show, and they all got a little bit this episode, but some got underserved. Particularly Seema. They didn't really follow up on a moment she had. But I'm going to try and go through them now. We'll start off with Charlotte. Charlotte is trying to momager her daughter, Rock. She wants her to be a model and everything, and she doesn't want to be a model because she just was turned off by the whole scene of Charlotte being a bit of a dance mom. And the kids, Lily just broke up with her boyfriend because, of course, they had sex, so, of course, he dumped her. And she's doing a Valentine's Day with her friends, and Charlotte has dinner with Harry. Now, unfortunately, she grabs a brownie on the way out that the girls made. Rookie mistake. Would anyone really do that? But she does that. She gets high. She thinks she's having a stroke. They take her to the hospital. Harry, is scared. And her whole life flashes in front of her eyes. Now, turns out she was just high. It's fine. But she's like, I didn't like what I saw. I'm going to take that job that I got offered at that art gallery from that guy because I'm not here. I feel like I'm just being a momager and a pimp for Anthony and all that, and I'm not here. So I'm glad we got to that because we knew she was going to get a job, but I wasn't sure how we're going to get to it because she turned it down when it was offered up before. So that's their story. Now, Naya basically decided to stay home and cook chocolate souffle, and her friends were worried about it, but she's like, I'm fine, I'm happy, and she was. It was great. That's how I spend every Valentine's Day. Horror movies, Valentine's Day themed horror movies and chocolate. I don't need no man. Neither does she. Now, Lisa, she's having problems with her son's girlfriend being a bit possessive. Now, how could he ever have fallen prey to a dominant woman? I don't know. But yeah, so she ends up in her closet. She was expecting to end up in her son's bed, but she comes home and finds him in her closet, looking at her stuff and holding one of her bags. So she's like, no, gone. And the dad says, you're on your own. So that's their story. Che found a dog because Miranda has been ghosting her because that's what Miranda does. Whenever she dated someone, she's like, you don't fit in my life anymore. You don't exist, basically. So she hasn't grown. She hasn't changed. I never like that approach to people with breakups. It's a very narcissistic, like you served a purpose, that's all you did, and now you don't serve a purpose, so you don't exist. It's really not about the person, it's not about a real connection, it's just really ugly. So hated that about Miranda, she's still doing it. So Che's hanging out with Carrie, and she finds a dog on the street. She takes it to the shelter she used to work at. She gets offered a job, so thank God she's out of the house and she's got a job. So that's her story. Like I said, it's crowded. And then we get to... who's next? Miranda. Miranda was trying to work out, am I gay? Because I was hoping they would make her gay and not just have Che be a one-off thing. But she meets a lady in a bookstore who reads novels. So she's heard all these novels that she's read, and they make a date for February 14, Valentine's Day. She's very excited to go. The lady changes it to her house, so she goes there, and it is a tiny little studio apartment with a cat in a litter box. It doesn't go well. Miranda calls Carrie while she's waiting for the lady to do something. She's gone off and she's left her sitting in the apartment. And she's like, do you need to be there? Do you need to stay? She's like, no, 35-year-old single Miranda would have stayed. 56-year-old gay Miranda is leaving. So she leaves. Good for her. Now, Anthony, when he was pimped out before, basically, he's hot bread, got the attention of Drew Barrymore. He invited her on the show. She invited him on the show. And he had to take a hot fella, and one of them was shooting up, and he's like, yeah, no one on growth hormones is going to work here. So they all quit. So he's got no one. Fortunately, Miranda stumbles across a beautiful Italian poet in this card store selling poems for like $1. So they take him on the show, and he is really well endowed, like comically well endowed. Like they had a dildo in his pants, basically, sitting there the whole time when he's on the show. And Drew is like, I'm trying to focus on the subject, but all I can do is look down. So that was funny, and Drew actually appeared. She did a cameo. That was great. I love Drew Barrymore. Who doesn't? Very popular. The other guy even hits on him, the gay guy from the show. And yeah, Anthony convinced him to stay for a week because of all the attention. And I don't know if that's going anywhere or not, but he agrees to, and that's it. So that's Anthony's story. I think am I done? Have I gotten through to everyone except for... yes, I'm down to Carrie now. Okay. I've forgotten anyone. I forgot someone last week. There's a lot of people in this show, and it's hard to give them all the time. Seema. I forgot about Seema. Okay, so Seema and Carrie get a massage. It's supposed to be the two of them getting a massage together because it's Valentine's Day. It's done as a double, as a couple's one. And she has a really bad reaction to it. And she goes all Karen, and Carrie apologises and they leave. And they don't actually have a follow-up scene to show what that was about, why that upset her so much. Now, when you are single on Valentine's Day, you do feel discriminated against, and I can understand why, being single, she's not happy. But and it kind of speaks for itself, but I think she deserved a scene sort of exploring that. She didn't get it, because I think they just ran out of time. Now, Carrie. Carrie goes on a date with Aidan. He replies to a message and asks her out on a date on Valentine's Day. So she goes. Now, she shows up at the wrong place. She sits there for a while. Her phone goes dead. She has to charge it at the front, but he texts her, and she's at the next address, basically. She should have been the next place over. So she goes out. They meet each other out the front. They give each other a big warm hug. He brushes her hair. It's a nice moment. They go to this little red booth in this nice little modern restaurant. They talk about Big. He wanted to contact her. He wasn't sure about it. I'm glad they're exploring this, because when Big died, everyone was like, Aidan. I'm like, there's more than two men in the world and more than two men in her life. But they have to address the Aidan thing so people just leave it alone. I thought they would just have them have a nice date, just be friends, have it not work again, not be able to go back again. But it actually really goes really well. They get an apartment back to her, taxi back to her place, and then when he realises you're living in the exact same place, the apartment I was working on the floors and everything and all that stuff that happened there, I can't go back in there. I can't go back. And she's like, I understand. I'm like, oh, wow, they're ending it this way? I thought they were going to end it in a nice way, but they ended it this way. But then it turns around last minute. He turns around and he says, do you know what? This is New York. There's plenty of hotels. And I'm like, are they just going to hook up? Like, what is this about? Like, how's he going to date if he can't go in her house? I'm like, they wanted to, like, give us a nice moment, and then they sort of gave us the, oh, no. And then they gave it back, like, oh, no. And like, I'm not invested. I don't want her to end up with him. I wanted them to explore it. But I wanted her to be single. I wanted her to be happy and single and not have to have a man to be happy. I didn't like the fact they married her off and gave her that traditional happy ending. I mean, Charlotte had that. Miranda kind of had that, but then, And I'm glad they're exploring Miranda as a lesbian character, because I was afraid Che was just going to be a one-off, and it was going to be an aberration or something, but she is definitely interested in women. I want to see her end up with a intelligent, sophisticated, feminine, strong woman. And I do want to see them explore that, so I'm glad they're doing that. But Carrie, I'm not sure where they're going with her and Aidan. I can't really see them being together again, but I would have preferred him to Mr. Big, because he would allow her to have the freedom to have her own life, and it wouldn't be all about him and those traditional roles and all that. Even though they would have a very traditional marriage, I imagine, Big was just too big. He was big and rich, and I think she just got enveloped into his life. I felt like we lost her to him. I don't feel like we'd do that with Aidan. I think they'd sort of have their own worlds and still have a relationship. So it could work, but I'd rather see her just be single and dating and not need to have, a partner. So that's where we're at with that, and I think that's everything. I feel like I'm missing something. Like I said, there's a lot of characters, and no, I think I covered them all. It was a good episode. I am enjoying the show. I really was looking forward to it. I had something else to do. I forgot it was Thursday, and I'm like, damn. I have to watch this now, and then I'll have to put everything off for an hour, because I'm not waiting a day or so to watch this, because I love the show. And I'm nearly up to 10 minutes. I need to stop. But I can't get through these reviews any shorter, and I do like talking about the show because I enjoy watching the show. I enjoy the characters. I'm so glad that the show came back, and all these women are getting their stories told, and that they're exploring these women in this age and everything. And as someone who's sort of, single and not really expecting the happily ever after, I'm glad to see a show that explores happily ever after, not just, you know, people in their prime dating and then having the fairy tale relationship, the conventional relationship, you know, the happy ever after. This is more the, you know, after the happily ever after. And I'm glad someone is exploring that. I'm not sure if I said it right before, but you know what I mean. But I'm going to go. Feel free to share, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think. I'm really enjoying the show. I can't believe there's only 3 episodes left. But the only good thing about this is they never did a lot of episodes of Sex and the City. A lot of shows that went to streaming or have come back, you notice the lack of the episodes. This feels like the show has just never stopped. And I'm loving it. So I'm going to go.